lonely.
Yeah. What am I doing
Yeah,
here?
exactly.
This,
Go away.
oh, yeah. They don't understand me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to the Apple Pie Club, and we're here to take you on a thrilling journey through the realms of practical philosophy and spirituality. I'm Skye, your spiritual guide, and I'm joined by Tanya, your practical philosopher. And our aim is to offer you a holistic perspective on life, blending insights from diverse philosophies and spiritual practices. From personal growth to timeless wisdom, we'll cover it all. So whether you're a seasoned seeker or just starting your journey, join us on this adventure. The Apple Pie Club is open to all, and we can't wait to have you along for the ride. So grab a slice of apple pie and let's dive into this world of ideas together. And Tanya, our quote today is by Jean-Paul Sartre, and it says, "If you are lonely when you're alone, you are in bad company." I love this quote because I
So
can
do
tell
I.
you I've spent many years being lonely, not only when I'm alone, but even when I'm with somebody. And there's this wonderful saying that we all know so much. We've heard it before. When you go somewhere, you take yourself with you. We can't change who we are when we move countries, when we change homes, when we change relationships. Ultimately, we are living with ourselves every
Yeah.
day of our lives. So we yearn for these most profound expressions of love. And we spoke about love in the previous session. And we look for it everywhere. And the most common place that we look for love is, of course, in people. And it's certainly there. We do find it, but only to a degree that we can love ourselves. And that's what we spoke about in our previous episode. But this goes a little bit further about when you're lonely. If you're lonely when you're alone, then you're in bad company. So what do you have to say about this quote, Tanya?
Oh my God, I think this quote is so deep. It's one of those quotes that certainly hits you straight into the gut, isn't it?
It
You
is.
know? So for me, it's a quote that truly brings home the importance of that we have to actually nurture, grow, and keep working on our self-development, our self-awareness, understanding who we are, and the role that we actually play in our own personal fulfillment in life. And what we're going to accept and not accept, right? Because, like you say, we're never going to leave ourselves. We're always going to be this. If we're lonely or not enjoying our own company, then we're going to be in bad company. And if you could just do one thing in life, focus on this. Focus on enjoying your company so that you're in wonderful company. Your whole
Yeah,
life will change. But at
exactly.
the end of the day, our minds are so powerful, so powerful, with our internal dialogue constantly whizzing and whirling and giving a running commentary on everything that's right or wrong about ourselves, about other people, about stuff which just is not important. Like if we were to get a computer and the computer would capture every single thought and you read that back, you'd think that you were going mad, would you not? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because of this, because of our inner thoughts and our inner dialogues, when they're not supportive to ourselves, when they're not loving to ourselves, it greatly impacts our peace and happiness, and we end up in bad company.
Mm-hmm.
But before I delve into that, first I want to explore the concept of loneliness, because what you just said earlier, you can actually be more lonely with someone next to you than you are lonely
Yep.
being on your own, right?
Absolutely.
I've been in relationships like that,
I've
lying in the
been there
bed,
too. Yep.
feeling
Yeah.
lonely.
What am I doing
Yeah,
here?
exactly.
This is,
Go away.
oh, yeah. They don't understand me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's explore the concept of loneliness, because it is very complex, because it's tied to our emotional and our psychological state of being.
Mm-hmm.
But loneliness often arises from a gap between the social connections that we desire and those that we feel we have, or from the expectations we set on ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And how we think we should live our lives. Now, whether it's either or, whether we're looking outward towards other people or inward towards ourselves, it's quite often filled with the word should, could, or do this. It's quite the instructions. You should be doing that. You should be doing this. You don't want to do that. You want to be doing this. I don't know if but when I was younger, there was comedy show by Harry Enfield, and he had this character which went around telling everybody, you don't want to be doing it like that. You want to be doing it like this.
I don't know that at all.
We live our lives like that a lot of time, judging other people, judging like a plant, judging just just irrelevant stuff. It's really not worth thinking about. But so no matter where it comes from, whether we're searching outside or internal, I believe that people may struggle in this area depending on whether they're extroverted or introverted. And we did do some research on this a number of years back now. And it obviously makes sense. Extroverts very much look for their energy externally from their social environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas introverts get their energy from being on their own. Right? So,
but yet either one could actually be lonely, whether they're outside with people or whether they're on their own.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important for us, again, through our self-awareness, right? Our self-development is really monitoring ourselves. Where are we feeling lonely? Where's it coming from? Where what's going on? What are the rules that you've got which equals that loneliness?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because it can strike at any point in time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When Jean-Paul Sartre says, if you are lonely, when you were alone, you were in bad company, he wasn't just referring to our physical solitude. He's speaking about the deeper emptiness, right? A disconnect that occurs.
Yes.
Whether we're alone or surrounded by people, like you say, it can happen whether you're introvert, extrovert. So loneliness isn't necessarily about being alone. It's about feeling alone.
Yes.
It's about feeling that disconnected, being unsupported, regardless of the company or the internal dialogue that we're having with ourselves. And that's why understanding loneliness and how we're experiencing is important. It's essential to our own actual, not only our joy, happiness, but our actual well-being. If we're at disease, we are going to cause disease within ourselves. So it very much, for me, it reminds us of the importance of cultivating genuine connections, both with other people and with yourself, and understanding where loneliness lies for you. Now I'm going to hand over to you.
Thanks, Tanya. No, that really is it, isn't it? Or where's this loneliness coming from? And ultimately, it's our whole life is a journey of learning to get to know ourselves. We've done an episode on know thyself, and we did one last week about loving ourselves. And so that's really what our whole journey is all about, learning to love who we are and accept who we are. And I'm going to liken this to the story of Dorothy as she's walking along her yellow brick road. She left in a storm, and she had to take this journey to find her way. And that's what we're all on. We're on a journey of finding our way. What makes us feel lonely, whether we're with someone or not? I can be alone all weekend, but if I've got a project going and I put on a movie and I'm cooking myself dinner, I never once feel lonely. Or I can be alone all weekend and I can be sitting and thinking, oh my God, it's lonely. What's actually going on, as you said, that reflection. But, along the way, Dorothy met the Tin Man without a brain. And so we confront, as we go along, we confront our own ignorance. We confront our own situations. Why am I feeling lonely? And all the lessons we have to learn in life. And then she met the Scarecrow without a heart. And that represents her lack of trust in herself and in others. And we have to confront this too. Do we trust ourselves? Do we trust others. And we learn to trust as we open up our hearts, and we open up ourselves to risk in terms of relationships with others. And then along comes the lion who had no courage. And all of these versions of doubting ourselves, these are versions of Dorothy, are actually versions of us. But Dorothy had these little shoes, these little red shoes. And eventually she was told that all she had to do was click these little shoes and she was back home. Dorothy had the power all along, and the power is within us. But this journey serves to show us that we all have to take this journey. Dorothy needed to take her journey. She needed to confront the Tin Man and the Scarecrow and the Lion to realize, show her that we have the confidence within us. We have the intelligence within us. Intelligence is on the level of power on the map of human consciousness. And, when we own that, then we own our own journeys. And we find that we can't be lonely anymore. We might experience periods of being alone, but we're not lonely. And so that's the quote of Jean-Paul Sartre, as if you're lonely when you're alone, you're in bad company. So it's looking at the company that you keep when you're with yourself. And are you able to create projects and read books that you love and do things that you love so that you don't feel lonely at all? Over to you, Tanya.
Thank you so much. I love that. That's going to get a lot of people to watch maybe Wizard of Oz in a completely different light.
Yeah.
I love how you use that as an analogy. That's beautiful. But you know what? I've got to agree, 100% loneliness is actually in our control. And I want to share some insights on how we can tap into our inner power by shifting our perspectives on life. And firstly, by recognizing and accepting any feelings of loneliness without judgment. That's critical.
That's great.
If
I love
at
that.
any point you're feeling lonely, don't judge yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Everything's fine. Because this step helps us understand our emotional landscape and identify exactly what might be missing in our relationship with ourselves as well as with others. So if we're sat in a room and we're lonely when we're sat next to another person, why? What's going on? Because by acknowledging those feelings, we begin to reclaim our power through reflection, awareness, and acceptance. And Skye, you emphasized the importance of self-reflection. And by examining our internal dialogue, what we shouldn't be doing, ought to be doing, etc., we really can begin to challenge and address any unrealistic expectations that we're setting on ourselves, and it's making us feel down, making us feel isolated, making us feel alone, etc. And also, if we're pushing that onto the other person who's quite close to us, sat in the room with us, and we're feeling likewise, we're feeling lonely. So changing our mindset in this way will significantly alter our sense of isolation. Yeah, because it ends up giving us the power to reshape our feelings and move away from loneliness to peace, tranquility, joy, looking forward to actually what can it be like just by not having to be around people, not having to talk,
And yeah, absolutely, totally. I want to address here this idea of being with someone, and the fact that we can be lonely with someone, and I'll use this word intimacy, because somebody said to me the other day, they said, I talk about loving my single life, and they said, yeah, but don't you miss being intimate with somebody? And so, first of all, I'll a quote by, and I hope I pronounce this right, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, an old philosophical quote, and it was, "Love does not consist of gazing at each other, but in looking together in the same direction." And I love that, because it gives us the idea that when you are one with somebody and you are you have the same goals as them, very quickly, love that consists of gazing at each other doesn't last. Okay, it falls away. But when you're working with somebody and you have the same goals as someone, and so I'm going to talk just very briefly about this idea of intimacy, and I want to challenge people about what intimacy is. So intimacy is directly related to communication. In fact, communication, I would say, is the true sign of intimacy, for it's the nature of lovers to share everything. And when we're intimate, we talk about our feelings and we talk about the deep matters of our heart and we talk about our goals, and we open up to one another about how we're feeling and what we're thinking, and we share these deep secret desires of our hearts. And the way we do that is, get to know each other. That's how we get to know each other, by having this intimate communication. So let's just put it right out there, Tanya. People would say, oh, but sex is intimacy. So I want to challenge you. Can you think of a time that you've ever had sex with someone and you didn't feel intimately connected with them?
100%.
100%. I
Yeah.
think every single one of us can.
Yeah.
And so we have to come to this conclusion that sex does not equal intimacy. So what happens then is that when we have this communication, this deep communication with somebody, sex can be mistaken for intimacy, because when it's combined with this intimate communication, it can feel like intimacy. So, I love this idea that we can feel alone with somebody because we're not deeply connected with them, because we don't have this ability to share our heart with them, to share our desires with them. And sometimes, we can feel that we're not alone with ourselves, because we're one with ourselves, because we know what our desires are, and we have this deep relationship with our inner self, with our higher self, and we can know that there's someone greater than ourselves who is taking care of us and looking after us. So I love this example. Colette Baron Reid tells the story. She was devastated one day when her boyfriend broke up with her, and she only realized a few months down the line that she realized the reason she didn't really like the guy anyway. She felt this loneliness when she was with him, but what she realized was that she just wanted to be chosen. She wanted him to choose her. She wanted to know this feeling of being chosen, of being intimate with someone, of communicating with someone, and having this great relationship with someone. I heard recently that having a relationship with someone is knowing that they've got your back. And that's what we long for when we talk about this whole concept of being alone with ourselves or with others, or being not alone, is knowing that we're with somebody who's got our back, knowing that we're chosen by somebody, knowing that we can have these deep, intimate conversations with people, and just spend life with somebody that we love.
What I find interesting is when two people first meet, and obviously they've got open communication. It's like the Johari window. Yeah, you've got the open communication going everywhere, and they're saying, "Oh, I like doing this," and the free flow of communication is at its peak, and that's when you hear people saying, "Oh my God, this person's the one for me. We are so alike. We love each other."
Yes.
And like, as you get older, you kind of roll your eyes, go, "Yeah, yeah, right." They all say that because you just met.
Yes. Yes.
And then as the relationship goes on, it's quite interesting. If you don't keep that flow of communication open, your blind side and your hidden self starts getting bigger, and you just stop sharing. So people, I don't know what you're doing, I don't know what you're thinking, and it starts to break down the relationship, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And at any time when when I felt lonely in a relationship, I didn't have any communication with them.
Yeah, exactly.
The communication was gone.
Because that's I love that you said that, because that's my point. I have absolutely come to be totally convinced of that intimacy is communication.
Yeah,
intimacy
100%.
is not sex.
No.
Intimacy is communication.
And then I was, when we were doing our last podcast, I was looking at love, and Aristotle looks at eros as in terms of love. And I ended up, kind of going down this whole research pathway on some philosophers believe that sexual love is got nothing to do with love. And then others believe that it when you've got sexual love with high levels of intimacy, the two, right? So it's not just sex, it's with intimacy.
Which is communication. No, I love that, with intimacy. Yeah.
Yeah. It is your closest path to bliss in the human form.
Yes, I absolutely love that. It is.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to take that. Remember, if you're lonely when you're alone, you're in bad company, because we spoke about in our last podcast that it's time to fall in love with yourself. So decide, where is it that you like to go, and what is it that you like to do? What makes you feel joy? If you love to go, I love to go and have a walk along the river, and I live very close to the Brisbane River, and I love to go for walks out in nature, and I love to swim for exercise. So it's a time of discovering about what it is that you love, because the reality is, when you meet somebody, you want to be able to share with them what you love, and do these things together. So I do love that. I think that it's a great opportunity to discover who you are. A previous session to
Absolutely, because if you don't take the time out to understand what it is that you love, and to put that forward as an important task in your daily activities, is to spend a certain amount of time each day doing the things that you love, then other people will end up controlling your life.
Exactly.
You don't know what you love.
Yes.
And so then if you don't know, someone will say, well, we're going to do this instead. You go, okay, then I don't really like doing it. And you'll always be in bad company. Because
and then you start to feel resentful. Yeah. You start to feel resentful. Yeah. And that's when the relationship breaks down. As we've said, that we first really absolutely have to identify what does it mean. Many of us are looking for something outside of ourselves, something that's going to fulfill that need, especially as when we're single. Just think about the times, even when you're married, you don't have as much of sex as you like anyway, life gets busy, and so intimacy is taking the time to keep that communication open, and that's the work. That's the real work. Is that taking those times where, okay, let's go out for dinner and let's communicate. Let's talk. That's the real work in a relationship. So,
let's have those date nights, keeping the lines of communication open with the other person, but keeping the lines of communication open with yourself. Making that communication pathway inward in your head is supportive for you not to feel lonely and to not be in bad company, to treat yourself as you would treat a friend or a relative, or your nana or your mum and dad. Treat yourself like that.
Well, we spoke about that in our last session, really. And if anybody's interested in that, they can go and listen to the previous session, which is so much beautiful content about, how to treat yourself and how to love yourself, how to live with yourself. And that's really what we're talking about, is how to live with yourself.
Yeah.
How to live with yourself, whether you're with someone in a relationship or not. It's how to live with yourself. Find out what it is that you love to do, because even when you're with someone, it's really important that you take that time to do what it is that you love to do, to keep your soul happy. And as we said right from the very beginning, we all can remember a time where you and I can remember a time when we were with somebody and we were so desperately alone. Even though we were in a relationship, felt so desperately alone. And other times when I've lived on my own alone for a long time, and I just don't get lonely anymore. Now, there are times where I feel alone, where I feel, oh, wow, I wish there was somebody I could go to a movie with, or, I'd love to go for a walk with somebody. I wonder what friend will want to go to a walk with me. That's different to this inner feeling of feeling alone, or feeling lonely.
Well said. I like it. Love it.
Mm.
Okay, so if you find yourself feeling incredibly lonely when you're with a certain person, it's a strange feeling, but I'm sure a lot of us tuning in today have been there because it's like you're physically present, but you're emotionally distant. So if you're in that space, try and identify why are you feeling like this? Is it because you don't connect with them? You might have different interests with them or values. And through that, you've stopped communicating, you've stopped being open because they may be, focusing on one thing, you're focusing on another.
Mm.
And that's making you feel isolated. Or maybe there's a mismatch of expectations. You might be craving a deeper connection but end up, kind of in a superficial conversation and it leaves you feeling unfulfilled. Or you might even have an internal struggle, some low self-esteem or negative self-talk when you're around someone. And that actually can make you feel lonely even when you're in your presence. Whatever it is, right? It's important to recognize that feeling lonely in the presence of others is a very common experience. So don't actually think that, you're in a bad space. But the key is to address the underlying issue and practice self-compassion to overcome those feelings of loneliness.
Yes, exactly.
And then knowing what you can change. Can you improve the communication flow? Can you reignite hobbies or interests together? If not, can you limit that time with that person? Can you protect yourself from them if you really, really are feeling lonely? Because at the end of the day, in order to live a life full of happiness, joy, and fulfillment, it really is important to master the art of enjoying your company, whether you are sat on your own or whether you are sat in the room with another person. You still don't have to be lonely.
Yeah.
I love
it.
control, take it within your own grasp because it's critical to live in a good life.
Yeah. And in fact, what you'll find is when you start living a life that makes you happy and come alive and open up your heart to life, it'll engage the other person more as well.
Have you ever been with someone who's just miserable?
Yeah, that's
and
it.
no matter how you go, right, I'm going to go and I'm going to smile, I've got all this energy, it just doesn't even change their energy levels at all. In the end, you can't keep doing that, can you? You just go, I just give up. I can't do it anymore. I'm not responsible for your happiness.
Yeah.
And if I'm sat here with you, I'm feeling lonely because the connection's going, grasp it yourself and take the power back.
So I think for my tip, just extending that a little bit, is really to do some self-reflection and find out what it is that makes you happy. There's this wonderful saying, don't ask what the world needs. Find out what makes you happy and go and do it, because what the world needs are people who are happy. So slightly, I think I've slightly adapted that a little bit, but so I think, go and do some things practice some things, go to the gym. No, I don't like doing that. Okay, good. Go and swim some laps. Oh yeah, I love this. Or, whatever it is, and experiment with some things that make you happy. And you'll find that when you go back to your life, or whether you live alone or whether you live with somebody else, when you're doing more of what makes you happy, you're opening up your heart more, and you're actually becoming, you're living a life that you love more, and you'll feel less lonely, because we go right back to our very beginning. You take yourself with you wherever you go. You move to a new country, you take yourself with you. You move into a new relationship, you take yourself with you. So work out what it is that you want in life. Because remember, intimacy is communication. If you can't have that deep communication with yourself to know what it is that you want in life, you can't have that conversation with somebody else. So deep reflection, I guess, is my tip, to work out what it is you really want in your life, and go for it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you very much.
It was wonderful. Thank you, Tanya. That's episode 10, I think. We
Yeah.
have done 10 episodes of the Apple Pie Club. So we'd love to connect with you. We have a Facebook page, and so we'd love you to connect on our Facebook page. And if there's anything else that we can help you with, you can email us. So if you'd like to connect with us in any way, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you for listening, and we wish you a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.